What if Deku died? Part 1. We start off as we see Bakugo and Izuku in the lonely and empty halls of their middle school building. Bakugo would be looking right at Izuku as Bakugo was sitting in his own anger. He was seething, basically. Izuku had pretty much told him off for throwing his book out the window, and Bakugo just had enough and decided to show Izuku what happened to people that talked back to someone with such a powerful quirk, especially someone quirkless who talked back to himself, the almighty Bakugo Katsuki. Bakugo would grab Izuku by the collar of his shirt and would slam his hand right into Izuku's stomach, which embers from his hand would just come off of it as Bakugo would use his explosion quirk, just exploding Izuku's chest as his clothes would catch fire. Izuku would be sitting there just screaming out in agony as his screams would echo through the halls of the school building. It was empty. An hour had already passed since the final bell had rang, and the teachers and students have already left, just leaving Bakugo and Izuku, as his screams would echo throughout the halls of each and every floor. Bakugo, completely shocked and scared by what he had done, would run away from his actions, run away from Izuku, not offering him help or even calling an ambulance, as he would run away from the school and out of it, completely disregarding what he had done. Izuku would sit there, his smoldering skin as it would burn and flake off of his flesh. Izuku screaming out for help, just grabbing at the floor, his fingertips clenching to the tiny soul of life that he still had. Here, hours later, the janitors who would be running the night shift would arrive to clean the school to see Izuku still sitting there, crawling, just trying to get out of the school, get help, as they would call the ambulance very quickly. However, Izuku would be admitted to a hospital only for the next day he wouldn't be there. He would be gone. Bakugo would suddenly wake up completely traumatized by what he had just dreamt. What the hell? What the hell was that? Bakugo would just be completely shocked at himself. He pretty much killed Izuku and now he nowhere to find. He would jolt up out of his bed as he would look over at his alarm clock. It was 10 a.m. He was late for school. He would grab his cell phone and make a call to Miss Midoriya, also known as Inko Midoriya. The phone would ring once before being frantically picked up by Miss Midoriya. Bakugo would answer, "Miss Midoriya, have you seen Izuku?" Miss Midoriya, or Inko, would burst into tears, a waterfall of tears. She had not seen Izuku since she had told him to be safe the morning before when Izuku was going to school. As Bakugo would just hear Inko choke out a few words saying that she has not seen him since the day prior. Bakugo would immediately hang up the phone, realizing what he had done the day earlier. Izuku was sitting in class as the teacher would announce that they have two people trying out to go and get into the UA Hero School. This would be Bakugo Katsuki and Izuku Midoriya. As soon as the teacher read off Izuku's name with a smirk on his face, the entire crowd would burst into laughter, as they would all just say, "You, please? You think you can be a hero? There's no chance!" Izuku would shrivel up, trying to be as small as possible. He hated when people would just bully him over some small things that they couldn't control at all. Izuku would then just feel a stomp on his desk as his ears would start to ring. "You think you can make it into UA, you stupid nerd? That's not ever gonna happen. Just give up. Nicholas, why don't you take a swan dive off the roof? Maybe you'll be able to get a quirk in your next life." Izuku's eyes would just be wide in shock. What the? What had Bakugo just said? It was completely stupid of him. If he ever wanted to be a hero, why would he tell Izuku that? It would sure linger in his mind if Izuku actually did it. So Izuku would completely just ignore Bakugo, as the final bell would ring, telling them that school had ended. Izuku would walk out of the school as Bakugo's words lingered in Izuku's mind. Should I or should I not? I mean, Mom would be sad with me, but on the other hand, life is a living nightmare, Izuku would think, as he would continue walking, as he would go under an overpass, as he would then hear some strange type of gurgling, as a loud slam would occur, as he would look behind him to see the sewer drain had been completely blown off, as a weird sludge type thing would burst out of it, looking straight at Izuku with devilish eyes. Ah, the perfect hostage and meat shield! You'll be perfect for my escape from that stupid blonde-haired idiot. As the sludge villain would jump right at Izuku, as Izuku would try to dive out of the way, but would instantly be consumed by the sludge villain. You think you can escape me? Please, there's no chance. As the sludge villain would start to suffocate Izuku using his flesh or sludge from stopping Izuku to breathe. All of a sudden, a very bright yellow-haired figure would emerge, saying, "I am here," as he would wind back his fist and punch the sludge villain with a lot of force, to which would blow the sludge villain away, as it would just dissipate, as All Might would put the sludge villain into a soda bottle and would then look over at the child, saying, "Ah, are you alright, young man?" As Izuku would scramble up, saying, All Might, yeah, I'm totally fine, but I do have a question for you." "Alright, can I listen to this question?" All Might would answer, as Izuku would just smile, saying, "Can somebody quirkless become a hero?" All Might would look sadly down at Izuku, remembering the times when he was quirkless before he had received One for All from Nana Shimura, his mentor. All Might would frown down at Izuku and would say the harsh words that would finally give a reality check to Izuku. "I'm sorry, boy, but somebody quirkless cannot become a hero. Maybe you should try going into another profession, like becoming a firefighter or a police officer. They are still considered heroes in the eyes of some citizens." All Might would say, jumping off into the distance, as Izuku would be left shocked. His life had no meaning after all anymore after that. His hero had just told him there was no way he could ever live out his dream of becoming the number one hero. So what was the point at all? Izuku would make his way up to his apartment building and would climb the steps up to the roof. Each step with the thought of Bakugo and All Might just lingering in his mind, eating away at his soul. It was killing him somehow, as Izuku would get up to the roof looking down, the wind blowing in his face, with Izuku just thinking, should I or should I not? It's a question, As Izuku would lean back and would fall, as his body would hit the ground with a loud crunch. However, Izuku would instantly jolt up. What the hell? Izuku would say, as it was like he was drowning in some type of black liquid, and it was thick like the sludge villain. Izuku immediately had flashbacks as he would start to claw around his mouth, as Izuku would realize he couldn't breathe. As 3 total seconds of this black abyss would pass, as Izuku would wake up inside a dumpster. He didn't know how. He had jumped and he had died. That's exactly what had happened, and he knows it. There was no dumpster around, but somehow he awoke in it. Izuku did have a quirk, and that quirk was resurrection. But it could only be used once, and after that, it was completely useless. Resurrection, it only activated when he died, and could not be picked up by any quirk detectors because it's such a rare and highly valuable quirk. So when Izuku had used it, it was like a wasted opportunity, now just having a shell of a quirk. However, it did save him his life. I mean, it kinda did. He was dead after all, but he got resurrected, kind of like a second chance at life. However, this resurrection did give him another chance at having a quirk. Because when he died, but when he was resurrected, it also gave him another chance. It awakened a quirk that was deep inside of him from many generations before him, his great-great-grandfather's quirk. It was one very powerful, and it was a green hell flame type of quirk. Think of green flames, green fire. It doesn't exist, at least to my knowledge. So, yeah, Isuku would get this green hell flame as he would just be marveling at how powerful his quirk was. He had just activated it. He'd be looking down at his hands as he would see this tiny green flame and the embers glistening off of it, shining, as Izuku would smile, thinking, I finally have a quirk. But, All Might, Bakugo wants to be a hero, and All Might is the number one hero. And they both said I couldn't be a hero. Bakugo bullied me. He'll probably get into UA. Izuku would think about how these heroes have mistreated him, as it is finally present day. Bakugo had just gone back into school, and had just released. Bakugo would be walking back as an escaped villain would capture him. Izuku would be walking down the streets as he would see these explosions happening. His heroic heart would rush down there as Izuku still had the embers of a hero inside of him. As Izuku would get there, as he would see Bakugo clawing at the sludge, much like how he had done in that black abyss. Izuku would walk past the crowd as he would see the barrier, as heroes would be telling him to stop as he can't cross there as it's dangerous, but Izuku would completely disregard that. He had put something over his face and hair so no one could see who he was, as Izuku would be stumbling past them as the heroes just thought he was some drunk, as Izuku had grown at least a foot when he had been resurrected, so it was quite hard for him to learn how to walk from such an increase in height, as Izuku would make it over to Bakugo, as Izuku would then activate his quirk and would send it right at the sludge villain's eyes, as it would just destroy the sludge villain's eyes completely. The sludge villain screaming in agony, just like Izuku had done in Bakugo's dream, with Bakugo getting a reminder of those screams, as the sludge villain would then just slouch down, dead. The sludge villain only felt pain from its eyes, and when they were completely destroyed, it died as well, as Bakugo would be let free from the grasp of the sludge villain, as Izuku would then stumble away from the heroes, as the heroes didn't have time to stop him and only went straight to Bakugo, asking him if he was alright. To which Bakugo would answer yes, he was, and the heroes for saving him, at least that's what he thought. Sure, he saw the people, or the person that saved him, he just killed the sludge villain, but the heroes were the only things that did something. Izuku would then spend the next 10 months just watching from background. He would end up looking in a newspaper that would blow into his face that a new threat had emerged. People called the League of Villains. Izuku had wondered, League of Villains? What a stupid name. But I might as well go find them. If I want to be a part of something big, I might as well get into organized crime. Izuku would be walking down the streets completely fine. It had been pretty much 10 months after all, and he had learned to walk with his new body. Well, it's not a new body, it's his old one, it just grew. Izuku would find a bar, as you would think, I think this is it. As he would kick down the door, breaking it off of its hinges, as two people would look right at Izuku. Izuku would walk down the steps, as the steps would creak, with Izuku sitting down. This the League of Villains? Instantly, Shigaraki would outstretch both of his hands, grabbing Izuku's neck, to which Izuku would stay completely calm, saying, "Whoa there. Well, that's not a very nice, what do I say here? That's not a very first greeting, or a very nice greeting to somebody you just met. Do you think I'm gonna kill you or something?" Shigaraki would release his hands out of Izuku as he would hear the TV speak behind him. "Shigaraki, let go of that boy. He may pose a use to us and our plans." And the TV talks, apparently, but it was just static. So, what do we have here? Somebody that looks young but also old, a mist creature, and a TV that talks. What a League of Villains, huh? I'm right, this is the League of Villains, correct? The TV would then speak again. "Yes, you are correct. This is the League of Villains. We're not high on very skilled members, but we do have many thugs at our disposal. Now, why don't you sit down? I would like to speak with you. Now, for starters, what is your name?" "I'm Izuku Midoriya. You may know me as that one missing child that went missing how many months ago? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 months ago, yeah. Has been quite a while, huh? It's almost been a year, actually. Coming up on my 1 year anniversary of being missing. That's quite cool." Shigaraki would stand up, saying, "What about your mother? Doesn't she miss you? Whoa, settle down there. I haven't seen my mother in 10 months, too. I miss her just as much as she does." Now from there, All For One would then explain to Izuku what their plans and goals are. Basically, how they hate how the society of the day is so focused on heroes and how heroes are so damn great. They want to change that and make it so society isn't as dependent on heroes. And they just want to attack UA as well. Izuku would nod his head, saying that he has one condition. As long as he can get revenge on the person that did this to him, or just caused him to go down the path of villainy, he would join the League. To which they would agree to that, as All For One would come out a portal that looked just like the mist guy that he had saw earlier. As All For One would outstretch his hand as if asking for a handshake, to which Izuku would take the hand and would shake it, as All For One would fall back into the portal and would then speak over the TV. "That is Shigaraki, the blue-haired one. I'm All For One, and that mist thing is Kurogiri." "Alright, I guess the introductions are done," Izuku would say, as he would then sit down and would then think, "Wait, but where am I gonna sleep? I haven't been sleeping in cardboard boxes for 10 months for nothing after all. I think I deserve a bed." All for One would laugh over the intercoms with a chilling just calmness to it, saying that to the left and then to the right will be Izuku's room. Izuku would thank the TV as he would then sit back down. Over the next couple days, they would be watching UA with great interest, waiting for some type of thing to attack. Izuku would be told that they are going to UA to get some files to see if they have any secret just field trips that they can try and attack. Izuku would nod his head, saying, "Sure, I'll come with you. Might even be able to stop some of the heroes for you." Izuku would put on his mask, which I'm gonna say is kind of like a demon mask. It's all white with a crack going down a black eye. I think that's kind of like Gaster from Undertale, but it also has white horns, basically to signify that Izuku is basically a demon. At least that's how he sees himself ever since he became a villain. Izuku would then come there as he would just be waiting for something to happen. He would be sitting in a tree blending in as he would then hear the alarms starting to go off. And a little more information about what Izuku looks like. Izuku has that white mask with white horns, but a crack going down all black eyes. As Izuku also wears basically like a robe type thing that's all black. So it's all black, and then he has a white mask that only covers up his face. So it's white on his face, a black robe or like coat type thing, and then he also has his green hair. So Izuku would be sitting in a tree waiting for something to happen as the alarms would sound. Izuku would jump down, looking around for something he could do, as heroes would then swarm him, while Aizawa would, who had ran out as soon as he heard the alarms, as he would see Izuku standing there. As he would instantly activate his quirk, canceling Izuku's quirk, as Izuku would laugh. "Wow, so you're the hero Eraserhead, also known as Shota Aizawa. Quite interesting you've been teaching here at UA. No stranger to your quirk, Eraserhead. I know you can erase my quirk. That's why I've also been training my quirk and my physical abilities. Don't think just because you have 20 years more experience than me, you're better than me." As Aizawa would jump right at Izuku, going for a punch to Izuku's head, to which Izuku would easily dodge. Izuku would be on the defensive for most of the fight. Aizawa throwing kicks and punches, to which Izuku would easily dodge. Izuku dodged with such precision, it was as if Aizawa was completely shocked. This is something only a master could do. As Izuku would laugh. I, for one, had given Izuku a quirk after Izuku had just signified that he is completely trustworthy for the League of Villains, and that quirk was enhanced abilities and learning ability, so he could learn at a very fast rate, and he also had great flexibility, speed, and strength for otherwise just a normal person. So Izuku could easily learn such techniques that someone who was 20 years of experience in martial arts like Aizawa couldn't still learn. As Izuku would continually just to be dodging, as it kind of looked like Aizawa was winning the fight. Aizawa had no scratches on him, while neither did Izuku. Izuku finally got bored after toying with Aizawa for 10 minutes, as Izuku would outstretch his arm from under the robe that he was wearing, as flames would then burst out of Izuku's fingertips and would go right towards Aizawa. Aizawa had forgotten one thing. During the entire time that he was fighting Izuku, he didn't have his quirk activated. Sure, for the first 2 minutes he did, but after seeing Izuku just easily dodging, Aizawa decided not to use his quirk and just kept going, thinking Izuku was just quirkless. However, That was not the case at all. Now, if you're wondering how come Aizawa couldn't cancel out Izuku's just enhanced ability quirk, well, it's because it's a permanent thing that cannot be taken or canceled. Now, you may be wondering, how did All For One take it? Now, it's much like All For One. It can be taken just with the user's permission. Now, this quirk was the quirk of somebody that worked for All For One, who ended up was on their deathbed and gave it to All For One, to which All For One would give it to Izuku. And now that it locked within Izuku, it could not be cancelled because it's a permanent quirk with Izuku. Now, it really just depends on Izuku's just soul and mind, depending on what he wants with the quirk. Someone like that, sure, they didn't want it to be taken at first, but after a while they did. However, with Izuku, he wants it to be a permanent quirk within him, so it's a permanent quirk that cannot be erased. So Izuku would finally attack Aizawa. Izuku's attack would hit Aizawa, as Aizawa would be flung back into a tree, just getting knocked out. And that's where I'm gonna leave it off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy What If Deku Died Part 1. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.